Welcome back to Old School Sports and our Out of the Park Baseball 26 series Rescue the Rockies. And just want to start off by thanking everyone who's been viewing and watching and thumbs upping and commenting on these first 10 and now 11 episodes of this adventure in OOTP baseball with the Colorado Rockies. The response has been fantastic for our little corner of the internet here, and I do sincerely appreciate all our viewers and everything our loyal viewers have done to try to help others find this little channel. So thank you for that as the start of this, and now we turn our attention to the international free agent signing period, which begins today. We finished our last episode talking about this and some of the guys that I've been scouting most aggressively and who I thought were the most interesting players. Got a great response from the worldwide scouting department, as we often do, as far as which way to go with some of these players. Before we get into the three players that I was most interested in and the three players who received the most support from the worldwide scouting department, would like to just talk briefly about a comment that NS1CLRK made. He suggested that when starting a new franchise and going through the IAFA period for the first time, something that NS1CLRK has found very useful is not necessarily looking at the top end of the market and picking up 5 to 8 guys with decent to good potential, good personalities, to really kind of give a nice jump start to the lower levels of the organization. And I think that's very interesting advice, given that, as I talked about several episodes ago, I don't like running 2 DSL teams, so I merged all of the players from the 2 DSL teams in the Rockies organization to one team, and then I reset the schedules there so the leagues would work normally, which they ended up doing just fine. But that did probably jumpstart my DSL team a little bit. Not that there was really any particularly high-end talent on it, but I at least had plenty of players to fill that roster. But thought that that was some interesting input on starting a game that I would share with the broader audience. Given that my focus in terms of the players I've been scouting most aggressively has been at the very high end of the market, I'm not going to follow that advice, but I do think it is good advice and something for people to think about when they're at the start of their saves and perhaps haven't invested all of their scouting resources like I did into the very top players. So turning to some of those very top players, there were 3 guys that I highlighted in the last episode that I was most interested in. Another guy who was slightly lower on my list but did get some attention from the worldwide scouting department was Danny the Chief Baltazar. The high adaptability and baseball IQ were positive features noted by members of the worldwide scouting department, as well as the potential for him to have really good movement and above average control. My concern with him is the fragility. I still view him a notch below the other pitcher that we'll be talking about shortly in Oscar Perez. But get that Baltazar is probably a somewhat cleaner prospect, despite his fragility, than Oscar Perez. Perez, also known as the Gimp, is a guy that we have liked since the first time we looked at this class. He was by far, when we reviewed this class back in October when it first came out, the choice of the worldwide scouting department. As we've gotten to know him better, however, some negative aspects of his personality have emerged, most notably the low leadership, and then particularly in terms of his development, the low work ethic. And despite a lot of traits for this lefty that I think could be incredibly helpful at Coors, ground ball pitcher who we think can reach 100 miles on the radar gun, potentially have above average stuff, movement, and control with an outstanding ability to keep the ball in the ballpark, and 3 potentially outstanding pitches. He's now not the number 1 choice of the worldwide scouting department, but he was still supported by a large number of experienced and new scouts to the team in Gilbert Gonzalez, Tyler Johnson, Not My Four-Ply, James Miller Media, Jeansy, Raymond Effinger, and Ian, all kind of acknowledge the potential concerns with Perez, notably including his personality. And although we have had success in our previous OOTP 26 miniseries with the Los Angeles Angels, when we brought on a pitcher with some negative personality traits, definitely has been noted by the worldwide scouting department and some who preferred other players that Mr. Riley, the player that we picked up in our previous playthrough, was much older and a college player, unlike Perez. So he was closer to his potential in a lot of these areas. And he also had a lot fewer years when we were going to be counting on in needing pretty consistent development to reach his true potential. So definitely understand the concerns that have been raised by Mr. Perez by the Worldwide Scouting Department, but certainly also understand the large contingent that still thinks he may be the way to go. There were also 2 pitchers, 2 position players. We've already talked about 2 pitchers. 2 position players that I kind of highlighted, one of whom was the right fielder Jonathan Pera, and he received the least support of the 3 players we're going to be talking about in detail, but well-respected scouts, Jarek Braxton, Undercover Boomer, and Fake Name, all had Pera at the top of their lists. Really good speed, really good looking defensively, and a potentially outstanding contact and gap power combination to go with that good speed could generate a lot of hits and a lot of extra base hits in Colorado. The home run power and the eye are only average, but the left-handed hitting outfielder is certainly a very interesting prospect. That being said, by far the choice of the Worldwide Scouting Department was Francisco Pinky Santos. Very clean prospect, high work ethic. We've got very high scouting accuracy on him. I think the development risk is medium. Respectable defensive outfielder, probably more of a corner outfielder than the center fielder that he's listed at right now. Average speed, but decent base running instincts, and most importantly, we think everything as far as the bat could be average to well above average, with contact and home run power being potentially his 2 strongest traits. So Santos received a ton of support from the Worldwide Scouting Department, including Knight Gallant, Tyler M., Alkshi, Hey Hoppy, Avery Shayam, Ian, Alex the Tall, Ben Phillip, Kevin McDowell, Fluffy Dog 987, Leo Volpain, Charles Rosa, Raymond Effinger, and Stanley Rosella. So as much support as there was for the GIMP, there's probably close to 2 times as much support among the Worldwide Scouting Department for Pinky, and it's going to be a very interesting decision for me which way to go among these 3 players that we've talked about in more detail. And I really like all 3 of these guys. Not that that's going to help me make a decision. Totally get the widespread support for Mr. Santos. But I'm also intrigued by Mr. Pera. The best defensive player and the most speed of the 2 position players that we're strongly considering. But the home run power and the eye certainly don't match up with what we think Mr. Santos can do in those categories. And Santos' contact is almost as good. The area where Para definitely stands out is the gap power and speed combination, and I think that certainly could play pretty well in Coors Field in Colorado. That being said, Perez, to me, of these three players, if he reaches his full potential, is the most superstar. The issue, of course, is that particularly given that low work ethic, the odds of Mr. Perez reaching his full potential compared to either Santos or Para are probably somewhat lower. Those of you who have followed me over the years through previous playthroughs know that I am a bit of a personality snob, and I generally don't draft guys with personalities that look like Mr. Perez's. As I noted, I did try something different with the Angels, and in the small sample size of a handful of players with those type of personality traits, the one that I invested the most in terms of draft picks, Mr. Riley, worked out really well. In this playthrough, we've done something similar with Jamie Arnold, who we picked 4th overall in the draft last year at this point. Low leadership and work ethic for him as well. But he's listed as the number 12 prospect in baseball, and we've got him in the development lab, and he seems to be on track to improve his control, borderline excelling, so still hoping for a nice boost to his development there. But certainly college players like Arnold and Riley are an entirely different beast than a 17-year-old like the Gimp, who has a ton of development that he needs to achieve, particularly in the control. And then the other issue with Perez that really stands out to me is he's only got 3 pitches. So if this sinker does not develop, he can become someone who, even if everything else goes well, becomes a relief pitcher who should be really good, but a good left-handed relief pitcher is certainly not as valuable as a good left-handed starter, just based on the number of innings they're going to be able to pitch. When it's all said and done, I am going to go with the number 2 choice of the Worldwide Scouting Department and bring on the Gimp. I get that Santos and Para, for that matter, are both really good prospects, and I totally understand the concerns about trying with a 17-year-old who's probably going to need 5-6 years of really solid development to see if he can turn into what we think he can. But part of this is just an experiment, and I've proven it's possible, admittedly in a small sample size with a college player, to turn a low work ethic, most notably, into a player that still comes close to reaching their true potential. And given that I have invested heavily in this franchise already in terms of rebuilding our coaching staff, and I am investing heavily in player development, I think it's a good test. Again, it's going to be a sample size of 1. If Perez is successful, it will tell us it's possible. If Perez is not successful, I don't know that it really tells us anything because it's a sample size of 1. But he seems like if he can reach this full potential, he's a guy who, with the outstanding movement potentially on his pitches, including an ability to keep the ball in the park, 100-mile-an-hour velocity, ground baller pitcher type with ground ball tendencies, could fit very well for us as a left-handed pitcher at the top of our rotation. We've gone pitching heavy in our first draft, and now we're going to try to go pitching heavy here. Part of it is just an experiment, though. This very well could blow up horribly in my face. But if it does end up working out, it tells me that perhaps my long-standing bias against players with negative personalities hasn't really needed to be there, given that I do typically invest so much in coaching and player development, and maybe that more than offsets some of these negative personalities that I haven't been willing to deal with in the past. So that's ultimately where we come down. We are going to try to bring on the GIMP. See if we can bring out the GIMP. And see if paying him every penny that we have, which in this first IAFA period is as much as any team can actually offer him, we'll get him signed for us. I guess there's an argument, given that he was looking for $3.4 million and he supposedly loved our team, to try to lowball him a little bit so he could perhaps bring on another player or two to help drive the breadth of the talent in the lower levels of the organization that NS1 CLRK lined out. But in this case, I want to bring the GIMP onto this team and see what's going to happen, and offering him every penny we have right at the start is the best way to hopefully ensure that that happens. And we made the offer to Oscar Perez, told us that unless someone offers him a better deal, he will sign with us. Unfortunately, he's come back to us today and said that he can get a better deal elsewhere. He's leaning towards a deal with the Mariners and will likely sign with them. We can still offer, but we have to make sure it's at least a respectable bid before we make the proposal. Well, as we know, we've offered him the max, so we can't do any better. And it seems like, and we did also see this with some of the free agents, that perhaps people don't really want to pitch in Colorado if they are high-end pitchers. So I'm guessing 2 days into this IAFA period that neither of the other guys that we were thinking about has been signed. And I don't know for a fact that it's related to pitching in Colorado, because obviously there are occasions, I don't know if it's obvious, some of you don't play the game, and I do appreciate those of you who don't play the game and still follow this channel, but there are times when you make an offer at the max to people and they prefer someone else. So it's just a hypothesis that perhaps Colorado's working against us. But that kind of puts us in a situation where we've got Jonathan Pera, a very interesting looking prospect, as well as Francisco Santos. And I really like both of these guys. I don't think we can go wrong either way. I do think if they reach their full potential, Santos is a little bit better than Pera, as much as I think that Pera may be better designed for cores with the contact, gap power, speed, and defense combination. I just think that the overall batting profile of Santos is a little bit better. Clearly, he was the choice of the worldwide scouting department, and meant to mention that I also received scouting report from Paul West basically saying that he liked all three of those guys and he trusted my judgment. So thank you for that, Paul. And we're going to go to the guy who was the number one selection of the worldwide scouting department, who apparently is ultimately our number two choice. And that's Francisco Santos. Given the experience we had with Perez, Not going to fool around and offer him any less than the max, even though he claims he's only looking for $3.2 million. Put an offer out to Pinky Santos. Hopefully, he will be more intrigued as a offensive player by considering taking his talents to Colorado than Mr. Perez was. We are going to make sure that we add Perez to the prospect shortlist, though, so we can track what becomes of his career that apparently will not be starting with the Rockies organization. And Santos does claim that our offer is fair, and unless someone else offers him a better deal, he'll sign with us. But we have heard that before. This is not our first rodeo. And we've made it to the start of the preseason. Sean Bouchard just left us for the Boston Red Sox, so the fans not happy with that. Took a 1-point hit to fan interest from the 54 we had reached through a couple of modest increases due to signings and free agents. We did just get a boost in our budget, though. Charlie Monfort apparently does like the way that this offseason has gone and boosted our budget from 180 to 190 million. Not really a ton that we can spend it on at this point, given that the top free agents are all off the market. But it certainly does give us a little more flexibility as far as scouting and player development. And I probably will explore at this point the relievers that are out there and maybe overpay to bring one more arm into our bullpen for next season, since I do have some dollars to spend right now. And we had looked at Hunter Harvey before. Didn't love that he was looking for a 2-year contract, given that he's fragile, but the money's not crazy, and he is a established major league reliever who throws close to triple digits. Definitely would upgrade some of the guys who would be competing for a spot in our pen. We previously offered him 1 year at $3.5 million. He's looking for more money than that, but I do think that if we offer him a 2-year deal, there's a chance that he'll go with us for a little less money than what he claims he's looking for. I am going to, at least initially, try to include a team option for that second year, which will guarantee a minimum of $3.55 million for this upcoming season for Mr. Harvey if we do move on from him. I think he'll probably at least think about this offer. And he will. So we've got an offer out to Hunter Harvey, potentially 2 years, $6.7 million, to help professionalize our bullpen a little bit more. And the prices on some of the position players still on the market are starting to decline a little bit. Keeping an eye in particular on Cody Bellinger, although Arias is also coming down in price. I think Tyler Freeman is a lot cheaper than he used to be, has some positive personality traits. But if we're going to bring another outfielder into the mix, I'd want it to be somebody who is a clear starter for us, which I think Bellinger would be. The other thing that I'd still like to focus on is someone who's very popular or extremely popular, who might help us with the fans. And from that perspective, both Cody Bellinger and Brandon Lowe stand out among the crew of guys that are out there. Don't think we're going to make an offer quite yet, which certainly means that some of these guys could trade away from us. But going to continue monitoring the market over these next few weeks. Right now, Bellinger has dropped to 5 years, $22 million a year. I think previously he was about $27 million, and I'm pretty sure it was for more than 5 years. Don't know that we really want to make that type of commitment to him, but if he continues to look for fewer and fewer years, might be something that works a little bit better for us over the next few weeks. And the GIMP did sign with the Mariners, so we'll be tracking what goes on with his career. And it looks, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's something that helps the AI, I don't mind because I should be better at this game than the AI, even though, I am certainly not better than the broad AI. The AI in the game can obviously be taken advantage of, beaten, exploited, however you want to describe it. But it looks like with him signing with Seattle, somehow his low work ethic has disappeared. I tend to think that probably would not have happened if he had signed with us. But we wish Mr. Perez the best of luck in his career. But it's kind of interesting that maybe he just really didn't have work ethic. But I don't feel like those things are scouted as much as they kind of just are what they are. But it is interesting that signing with Seattle and the work ethic went away, and I think the personality description has also changed from when we were looking at him just a couple days ago. So I give the game credit for being dynamic, and if it's something that helps the AI be a little more competitive with me, I'm all for it. And still waiting for more color from both Hunter Harvey as well as Santos. Last we heard was that they both favor our offers, but we know how that can work. And we sim ahead a day, and the outfielder Francisco Santos is a part of our organization, so ultimately ended up settling and signing the guy that the Worldwide Scouting Department recommended. Unfortunately, Hunter Harvey is claiming that he wants to go with the Phillies. I think we could be having some issues signing some of these relievers where we've really struggled after that first flurry of this offseason because of Colorado. Says he's looking for a lot more money. I don't know that we're going to give him that much, but I will make another offer to him thanks to the recent generosity of Mr. Monfort. And since we've got the money this year, we're actually going to offer him more potential total money than he's even asking for. Said he was looking for $8.8 million. Don't know if he's going to love this structure. $5 million this year, and then a team option for us for $4 million next season. But guarantees him $5.4 million this season, and then he gets to hit free agency again. So I don't know that it's going to compete with the Cardinals when all is said and done. But he says he's willing to think about it. And Harvey's initial reaction was positive, says that we are back on the top of his list, but we will see what happens. And we have ended up signing Hunter Harvey, so looking forward to having him in the bullpen to hopefully strengthen our relief pitching a bit, and as we talked about earlier, give us another proven professional major league star reliever. And although we did get Harvey signed, Mr. Bellinger is off the market, unfortunately. We'll see where he ended up. Philadelphia Phillies, the rich keep getting richer. Did get the 5 years he was looking for, but an average of a little less than $20 million a season for Belly. And we've still got a little while until spring training to make some final budgetary decisions, but with the top free agents largely gone and kind of the additional budget that we've got, we're going to kind of right-size the draft budget compared to last year for the fact that we're picking fifth, so it looks like we'll need about $11 million there. Does look like we can potentially have the $5.7 million next year, so we should have as much as anybody for the IAFA class. Hopefully there will be a version of Mr. Perez who's willing to sign with the Rockies out there next year. And we're going to go with very big budgets potentially this upcoming season for both scouting and player development as we try to give our new scout the best opportunity to hopefully find us some diamonds in the rough as far as international players, get ready for the draft, and then also develop the resources that we've started to add into our minor league organization. We'll have a lot of money available if we want to take on a contract or sign another free agent or two to a one-year deal, but we're not really necessarily playing to win this year, just trying to show some modest level of improvement from last season and continue moving this franchise in a better direction. And we're a few days away from the roster selection for the World Baseball Classic. Would not suspect that too many Rockies will be involved, but probably will be some. We have also changed things. We did rebuild a schedule. We pushed the opening day back, and we got rid of the international games that start for a couple of teams a week and a half before the rest of the season and basically cause an early end to spring training for everyone else. But other than that, have not really messed with anything else. So we'll see if we can maybe pick up, as I said, another player or two to help the organization as we start getting closer and closer to the start of spring training. Take maybe with a couple weeks till spring training left, final look in the development lab before we find the results. Arnold still on track, Jack Bauer on track with their control programs. Ezekiel Tovar and Adele Amador both doing well with plate discipline. Still have Jaden Hill vacillating back and forth between struggling and frustrated with his program. Would be great if Braden Nett or Charlie Condon ultimately ends up successful with their programs, but right now they're both just a little bit under on track. Maybe the enhanced scouting budget will help them. Honestly, maybe we should bump the scouting budget up to the or player development budget up to the max at this point, given that we do have that money to spend. And because I did end up pushing back the start of the regular season, our player development first round finishes a little bit before the start of spring training this year. I think it'll be back to the default next year after we get through the fact that I pushed things back this year. Ultimately, 4 no improvement programs. Roma with plate discipline, Condon with quality of contact, unfortunately. Hill with his secondary pitch, and disappointingly, Jack Bauer also ended up not successful with his improved control program. Fortunately, there were no disastrous programs. Even Jaden Hill ended up getting to where it was just a waste of time rather than any regression. But we'll focus on the positive now in 4 successful programs, including one that was outstanding. Jamie Arnold improved his control. Oh, I actually do need to change the setting. I thought I had changed the setting here. I think I did it when we did the tutorial video about what settings I was going to use this year, but I know there was definitely something that I need to click on to see how things actually improved or regressed in these reports that must have gotten clicked off somehow. Or most likely I just forgot to click it on when I was setting up this league. And this is the setting here to click on display lab-specific ratings changes in the completion email. Don't know whether that will now fix these emails that I have already generated. Now it looks like I'll have to wait till the next round, unfortunately. So not going to know exactly what happened, so I guess we have to read the narrative a little bit more. Good change in the control and improved command for Jamie Arnold, so that's positive. Braden Nett would expect his walk rate to reduce going forward. and then 2 positive plate discipline programs. Ezekiel Tovar, more refined approach to the plate, and then an outstanding result from Adele Amador. Not only is his current eye better, but we think he also increased his ceiling. So 4 positive results. We'll now get some guys into the lab to work on their speed and or their defense, and hopefully we'll get the details in this next round of reports in a few weeks. And I can't really remember what Adele Amador previously looked like, but definitely don't think his eye was that good. So he could be developing into a somewhat more useful player for us at the age of 22. So that's good to see, and we'll probably try to improve his infield defense. It's a hard program, but we're going to try to make as many of these young players better as we can. And Tovar, for what it's worth, although we allegedly had a successful trip to the development lab in terms of his plate discipline, if I'm remembering correctly, I don't think his eye looks materially different than it did before. And most of the 8 programs we're going to run now are focused on defense. Bo Bichette, who we brought over, talked that he may end up at 2nd or 3rd for us. Right now, he doesn't know how to play anything but short, so we'll try to get a little head start on some of that by hopefully teaching him a new position. Working on outfield defense for Charlie Condon, as well as Hunter Goodman, Austin Wells, and Jordan Beck at the major league level, just to hopefully help reduce the kind of first base, DH, left field log jam we have by making one of those guys or multiple of those guys a little more versatile and talented in their outfield defense. Amador and Net going to work on their defense in the infield, and we're going to let Tovar work on his base stealing technique. So we are going to get spring training underway now. You can see the shell lineup that we're going to use against right-handed pitching. Going to try to play Bichette at second base for the time being and see what he looks like there. Haven't honestly put a ton of thought into the batting order itself. Basically just want to ensure that a good group of players that are likely to make our final roster are getting some playing time. And we've done the same thing with left field with a largely, or against left-handed pitchers with a largely different crew. Main goal is to get to know these players even better during spring training, and hopefully when all is said and done, get through it with a relatively healthy roster and put ourselves in a position where hopefully we can get to 65 or so wins next year, or this coming season. 58 wins a year ago. Certainly don't think with the changes that we've made that this is a 500 team. Would love it if I end up being proven wrong on that, but our goal is to not suck completely and improve our team on base percentage this year. And the hope is that, getting 65 plus wins, 7 better than a year ago, is a decent step in that direction. So I'd say our primary goal is to get this team to have less than 100 losses next season. And the World Baseball Classic is getting underway as of yesterday, and we're also getting our results on our shorter player development programs, and not a lot of good news. 6 people frustrated, only 2 are on track right now. Ezekiel Tovar on track with his base stealing technique. Austin Wells on track with improving his outfield defense. But everybody else is pretty frustrated with what we're trying to do with them here in the development lab as we try to finish up the spring here. And a pretty significant loss as we try to prepare for finding out what all of these new pitchers really can do in Colorado is Drew Romo going to be out for 5 weeks with a sore shoulder. So our top defensive catcher is certainly going to be missing the start of the season. Fortunately, it's only March 7th, so hopefully he'll be back by mid-April. Maybe miss the first 5 to 10 games of the year, but certainly we're hoping that he would be building rapport with the pitchers that we've brought on board and then able to help them during the start of the regular season. And it looks like that will now be delayed a little bit. And even our Rockies have had several guys pulled off the team for a week or so for the World Baseball Classic, so we'll worry about rebuilding those lineups on the other side of the WBC. But for the time being, you can see there's a fair number of players who have disappeared for a little while and are getting their spring training done while competing for their home countries. And if you were wondering, the United States took the World Baseball Classic with a 5-2 victory over South Korea. Shohei Ohtani was named the premier WBC player. Our Ezequiel Tovar finished 6th in the voting for the most outstanding player in the World Baseball Classic, however. And our catching situation definitely taking another step backwards. Romo still out for another 3 weeks with that shoulder. And then Austin Wells, who we've been trying to play in right field, but certainly would have been in the mix to be our everyday catcher with Romo out, is now going to also be out for about 3 weeks with a strained back. So a less than ideal situation for us behind the plate at this point. And also not really confident that that's going to work out very well for Mr. Wells with the player development program that he had been working on that was on track. Wouldn't shock me if that moves in a worse direction. Dale Amador really struggling with his infield defense program. Only a couple days left. So things not necessarily going incredibly well for the Rockies here, at least as far as injuries. And we've gotten to the end of the programs. Dale Amador with a poor result, as we feared. Fortunately, there's no noticeable changes. The young pitcher, Braden Nett, was successful working on his defense. Successful program for Tovar on stealing. Jordan Beck successfully improves his outfield defense. No improvement for the injured Austin Wells, unfortunately. No improvement for Hunter Goodman. Bo Bichette, no big progress learning new positions, but we've been playing him at second and third during spring training. So hopefully he'll get some proficiency at those. And then Charlie Condon, the youngster, improved his ability in the outfield a little bit. So that's not the worst thing to see for one of the better prospects in our organization, although certainly would have preferred if he had a successful result with his program where he was working on improving his contact over the long program. And don't know how much it's really worth, but the spring went pretty well for the Rockies, a 16-8 record. So much more competitive in spring training than we were last year for what that's worth. But I don't think it's really going to mean that we are a playoff contender all of a sudden. We'll make some final decisions, and actually all of the decisions on who's going to make our 26-man roster, and then take a look at what the preseason predictions are for us as we get closer to the start of the regular season in a couple of days. And it took some time, quite a bit of time offline actually, but we have made the cuts to figure out what our 26-man roster is going to look like at the beginning of this 2026 season. The final two cuts among pitchers were a couple of youngsters who started for us last year. The right-hander Gabriel Hughes, 24-year-old, who made 13 major league starts for us last year, and the left-hander Carson Palmquist, 25-year-old, who also made 13 starts at the major league level for us. ended up being the final two cuts. They'll get some playing time in AAA. All three of the players that we picked in the Rule 5 draft ended up making the 26-man roster. Although, to be fair, we do have a couple of significant injuries at the catcher position involving Drew Romo and Austin Wells. So once those two guys are ready to come back, we probably will have some more difficult decisions to make with the position players. But to the pitchers, Sandy Alcantara is going to be our new ace. Only pitched one game for us as a starter because he was at the World Baseball Classic, and then when he came back, we didn't put him into a starter role. But he will be our ace as the season gets underway. Another new addition, Alex Cobb, will be our number 2 starter. Holdovers Aaron Ashby and Ryan Feltner will be our 3rd and 4th starters. And then the newcomer, Clayton Kershaw, will be our number 5 starter for as long as he's healthy. New addition, Gregory Soto, is going to be in a setup role along with Seth Halverson and new addition, Hunter Harvey. So Soto and Harvey, 2 very important new additions for us, 2 of the higher quality relievers in our organization. Not going to have an assigned closer. Soto is the only lefty in our pen, is going to be a specialist when we need one. And Halverson and Harvey will split the closing roles when we need someone in that role. Jaden Hill, who came up towards the end of last year, going to get another shot in the bullpen. Our all-star from a year ago, Angel Chivili, is going to be back. Anthony Molina, who closed for us at times a year ago, will be back. And then Elvis Peguero, who we picked up the middle of last season, also back in the bullpen. And then the Rule 5 acquisition, Bobby Miller, going to give him an opportunity to be a long reliever and our emergency starting pitcher. I think that the 26-year-old could still develop into a useful major league arm for us and would probably be the first guy to get a shot in the rotation if we do have any injuries or ineffectiveness. All 5 of the new additions who are in their 30s, Alcantara, Cobb, Kershaw, Harvey, and Soto, are on the trade block. We don't intend to necessarily make any massive moves immediately, and we certainly do want to be more competitive than we were a year ago. But if someone's willing to blow us out of the water with an offer for one of those veterans, we would be more than happy to let them go. And the final 2 cuts among position players were a couple of infielders. Marco Luciano, who we signed as a free agent out of the Giants organization, and then Adil Amador, who was up with us last year, but still pretty young, and we wanted to ensure that both of those guys get consistent playing time down in AAA. So they were the final couple of cuts. A couple surprises made the roster. Danny Jansen will be our backup catcher. Noted that our likely starting catcher, Romo, and then Wells, who will probably be starting in a first base, DH, left field, right field type role for us, but could serve as a backup catcher, is also on the IL. So Jansen's spot will definitely be in jeopardy in a couple of weeks when those guys are available. But Jansen, who we signed as a minor league free agent less than a month ago, coming in handy with those late injuries to the catchers. Hunter Goodman, who moved into the DH role primarily last year, even though he did win a Silver Slugger at catcher, will be our catcher for the time being until Romo and or Wells is back, and then we'll have to make a decision. Jordan Beck going to play first base in the outfield for us. He's actually going to be our starting first baseman over the near term. Again, things can change when Wells gets back because we are a little short of left-handed bats. Vinny Pasquantino going to be our DH against righties. Bo Bichette, who played some second and some third during the spring and is getting reasonably proficient at both positions, is going to be our second baseman as a new addition. Rule 5 acquisition, Jared Cerna, going to get an opportunity to play every day against lefties as a DH. Otherwise, he'll be a utility infielder for us, but figured that We like him, we like Luciano, and we like Amador, but Cern is the guy that we have to keep on the roster to retain his rights, so that helped him make the team. Eggy Rosario, likely going to be our third baseman and number 2 hitter for the time being. And Ezekiel Tovar, of course, will play shortstop for us. Michael Conforto, who we signed as a minor league free agent in February, makes the roster, at least for now, as a left-handed hitter. We've only got 3 lefties on the team, so they're going to all be getting starting playing time against right-handed pitching for the time being. Don't know how long Conforto is for the roster when Austin Wells is ready to come back, as well as Romo. That will give us a lefty in Wells and a switch hitter in Romo. And if Conforto's not performing well, could look to move on from him. Luis Robert Jr. is only going to be in the lineup for now against left-handed pitching. Figured we'd give the lefty Conforto and another new lefty addition, Drew Gilbert, the opportunities against right-handed pitching for the time being. Miguel Vargas is going to be our first baseman against left-handed pitching. Brenton Doyle, the center fielder. And then the third Rule 5 acquisition, Drew Gilbert, will get an opportunity to play right field for us against right-handed pitching for the time being. So Conforto and Gilbert, really by virtue of their left-handed bats, made the team and are going to get some playing time and significant playing time since they'll be in the lineup against righties over the near term. But as I noted, when we get to the point where both Romo and Wells are back, my hunch is Jansen will be gone. And then most likely we'll be making a decision on either Conforto or Gilbert to open up the second roster spot. But things can change. Some players do have options. We'll make those decisions when we need to. And we've made it to opening day, taking a look at the preseason predictions. The Orioles, Twins, and Mariners expected to be the top teams in the American League. Looks like Ron Judge expected to have another big year for the Yankees. Max Fried also expected to have a big year for the Yankees on the mound. Looks like he will be competing with the likes of Shane McClanahan, at least in this simulation, to lead the American League in wins here in 2026. Over in the National League, the Braves and the Mets both expected to get to 90 wins in the NL East, and the Dodgers with 98 wins expected to be the winningest team in baseball. In this simulation, at least, our Rockies were supposed to be borderline respectable at 79 and 83. I think a 21-game improvement from a year ago would be shockingly good. This is what the simulation came up with, so I can't argue with it. But I tend to think if we can get into the mid-60s and avoid 100 losses, I'll be content. But certainly if we can get over 70 wins, that'll represent pretty significant progress. To be honest, though, as we noted, I think a significant amount of that progress is probably from some of those free agent pitchers and the pitchers that we traded for. And a lot of those guys are veterans who may only be with us for a season. So definitely not feeling that we're necessarily building anything incredibly sustainable, even if we make some progress this year. But the goal is to make some minor improvements, keep the franchise moving in the right direction, and then hopefully continue adding talent through the draft and the international amateur free agent period particularly, and then hopefully quickly developing that talent and bringing it up through our system to get to the point where we can be a more consistent competitor than I think we're going to be right now. Not surprisingly, none of the Rockies are expected to be among the top pitchers or hitters in the league. Looks like Shohei Ohtani expected to have another monster season for the Dodgers. Paul Skeens among several pitchers who are expected to have pretty good years in the National League here in 2026. And our season expectations are to stay respectable on the field. We do have some money to spend, which will come in handy shortly. Noted that the two goals that we've got this year are to not suck completely and to improve our team on base percentage from last in the National League. The other opportunity to change a goal is to acquire an MVP, so I don't think we're going to change that one now. We certainly can't do worse in on-base percentage, and it is a very low priority. Mention the money and why that would be important. We did just get a request from Cole Carrig, who we actually sent down to AAA as well, asking us to help the community and raise awareness of the plight of the less fortunate. For those of you who haven't played this storyline before, generally you can get a boost in fan interest if you invest heavily. So we are going to go ahead and, instead of giving a donation, start a charity. I believe that's going to cost us about $16 million. We can probably see it here. Right now we are projected to make $4 million this year. And my hunch is, after we get that up and running, we're going to be projected for a loss this upcoming season. But we do have the opportunity to perhaps adjust our scouting and development budgets to reflect for that. Not that I think it's necessarily critical that we even make money this year, but with the boost that we got to our budget this season, certainly want to try to do what we can do to keep Mr. Monfort happy. That being said, we also want to start rebuilding our relationship with the fans here in Colorado, and hopefully starting a charity and ultimately getting a boost to fan interest will help move us in that direction. And we'll hopefully see the results of that in the coming days and weeks when we hear Mr. Carrick's appreciation after he does get the charity started and underway. But as this season begins, clearly have somewhat higher expectations for our Rockies than we've had in the past. Definitely feel comfortable that we should be more than a 58-win team, particularly when we are finally healthy, and we should have the opportunity to get Romo and Wells back, and both of them hopefully will be ready to contribute in about a week. And we will find out how the start of this new season goes, our first full season with the Colorado Rockies, in our next episode. Until then, thanks so much for watching, and hope you have a great day.